What up, it's Dylan from Local Injection Music Reviews, and today I am reviewing The Elephant Gifts by Perth rapper Bitter Belief. In my opinion, this guy is one of the best rappers in the country. He's got impressive pen game, tight delivery, punchy beats, and he's actually acclaimed Perth Rapper Draft's live hype man and a member of the SBX and Western Coalition crews. Bitter Belief is not widely known on a commercial level, but he's got a lot of respect from the underground and his peers. The Elephant Gifts was released on the 26th of February 2021 through Draft's label The AMs through Warner Music Australia. The album has 10 tracks with 4 features and none of them rappers. The album's got a myriad of producers including Draft himself, Disaster, also from the Syllabolics crew, and Telling Beats. And it was engineered by longtime collaborator Rob Shaker. They made albums together in the past such as Beast Mode, and Rob Shaker has actually produced a couple of my own songs. If you want to check it out, my hip hop name is Amity. I'm on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, you can find it anywhere. In the liner notes of the CD, Bitter Belief says much of the album was actually written on a trip in India after a breakup, and the title comes from the 3 different elephant gifts he received while he was over there. Elephants symbolize wisdom, strength, and good luck, something that Bitter Belief needed and found in the process of making this album. It's his most honest, personal, and reflective album so far, and it showcases more of his singing as well as catchy hooks by the album's guest features. The album's got modernized boom bap beats with live guitar and grand piano, and the lyrics themselves have a lot of different forms rather than the typical hip-hop structure of a 16-bar verse and an 8-bar hook. Going through the album, the first song, Hellbound, features guest vocals by Skyuka. It's got spacious production with a lot of reverb and some dreamy background vocals by Skyuka, rolling hi-hats in the chorus with quite a minimal vocal hook. And the song is about self-doubt and holding himself back. The next song, Wingspan, was a lead single. It's actually just one big verse with a chanted, uplifting final chorus. It's got a pounding kick, bright keys, guitar, and chopped vocal samples, and the whole song builds to this epic cinematic climax with strings and a choir at the end. This song is the first example of Bitter Belief singing on this album, and it's about societal values and the pressures of society with the expectation it puts on its citizens. The next song on the album, Everyday Struggle, is about a friend who passed away and actually dealing with that isolation and dejection himself. It's got soft keys, strings, a latent snare, and again more of Bitter Belief singing, and he talks about his emotions being dismissed by others, particularly in lines in the chorus when he says, "I try to tell them how I feel, but they said I sound like everybody else." The song has a lot of melancholy to it in the music, but the vocal performance is actually quite aggressive, and I suppose that comes from the frustration that he talks about in the song. Next song on the album is I Tried, featuring John Kavanagh. It's got smooth, clean guitar with a hard layered snare, which I actually thought was a bit much. I feel the song could have done better with just a rim shot or a snap. It's got a nice falsetto vocal performance in the chorus by John Kavanagh, and the song is just about reminiscing on past relationships and wishing that he had behaved differently. The next song on the album, Beautiful Ugly, was another lead single. This is probably one of my favorite songs on the album. It's got a repeated eerie piano melody with tremolo strings and a slightly syncopated, hard-hitting boom bap beat. The song is really interesting because lyrically it personifies his love for hip-hop as like a toxic relationship. It's got very emotional delivery, quite a catchy hook, and the technical lyricism in this song is insane. It's got strong multis, varied meter, and clever wordplay, and to be honest, this song is probably Bitter Belief at his best lyrically throughout the album. I mean, you've got lines like, "We had the right start, blinded by a bright spark. It felt safe to give you real estate in my heart. Little did I know that you would grab it with a tight grasp, grip it and rip it out of me like it's a triple bypass." That's awesome. I love that shit, and this guy is on top of it. Bitter Belief has rhymes locked down. Moving on, the next song on the album, Samsara, has trumpet, delicate keys, and a rolling snare. Again, similar to Wingspan, it's just one big verse, but instead of having this final chorus or outro at the end, it's just straight bars. It's about finding peace and letting go. The word Samsara is kind of about the cycles of life and death, talking about rebirth, and he actually makes reference to the competitive nature and braggadocio of hip-hop, something a lot of rappers get caught up in when every song is just them bragging about how they're better than you. The next song on the album is To The Edge, featuring James Aberley. This is the softer song on the album. It's got acoustic guitar, distant singing with snaps and airy cymbals, and it's about being doubted and oppressed, but recognizing your potential and realizing those endeavors. The next song on the album is Mr. Perfect featuring Brianna Marin. It has very present guest vocals. They're nice and loud and crisp at the forefront of the mix with a really cool bass riff. This song, similar to I Tried, is about his flaws in a past relationship, but a lot of it is from the ex-partner's perspective. It's got a catchy, upbeat sung outro, and a repeated refrain in the last bars of each verse in lines like, "Now you know I wasn't Mr. Perfection." The next song on the album, Losing Grip, is another one of my favorites from this album. It's the most contemporary sounding song on the album with a halftime snare and rolling hats, and it's quite a refreshing vocal performance on the album because it has quite roomy delivery with constant flow switch ups. The song itself is about drifting from the person he wants to be. The chorus is losing grip, I'm falling, I'm losing grip, I'm failing. And similar to Mr. Perfect, it's got another repeated refrain in the verses, but this time it's at the start of each verse for that consistency throughout the lyrics of the song. The first verse begins with, "I'm full of love, but I'm full of rage." Second verse begins with, "I'm full of dirt, but I'm full of faith." And the third verse begins with, "I'm full of grit, but I'm full of joy." And I guess that just reflects the polarity of his emotions in this song. The closing track of the album, The Pursuit of Unhappiness, is quite similar to the opening track, Hellbound, where he talks about falling short of his own expectation, but doing what he wants anyway. And lyrically, he really puts life into perspective with lines like, "I knew a guy who took his own life. I guess at the time that was his logical answer. But I also knew a guy who fought for his life till the second that he died fighting off the cancer." You've got this washed out percussion that comes to the forefront of the mix halfway through the verses with these distant piano and sustained strings. I think it's really cool that the last song on the album kind of brings the whole project full circle in the sense that it's similar to the opening track Hellbound, where he's talking about his insecurities, self-doubt and self-deprecation, but in the final track of the album he kind of owns it and he's like, you know, this is me, this is what I'm like, how can I use this to better myself? And I think that's really important. The best song on the album for me is Beautiful Ugly, which also has an awesome video, by the way. It's got this gangster boom bap beat with a haunting melody. And I find it quite relatable as an artist, since making music can be your pleasure and pain. You almost punish yourself to make the perfect song, which obviously never comes, but as a result, the art of expressing yourself through that musical outlet is cathartic. It's his lyricism at its peak in this album. The idea of creating this story that hip-hop is like a twisted relationship works really well. The best lyric on the album for me would be, "This is what you get when you mix slight depression with the type of weapon that I have in my possession," from the first song on the album, Hellbound, featuring Skyuka. This line refers to his rap skills as a weapon, which they are, but it also explains how he uses music as an outlet for his negative emotions. All in all, despite being a short album at only 10 tracks long, you can tell each song was very carefully written, each track is very well produced, and it was an exciting comeback from one of my favourite local rappers. The interesting thing is Bitter Belief has never really cracked commercial radio, but you can tell that he does this for himself, which is quite an impressive feat. To wrap things up, get it? I would give The Elephant Gifts by Bitter Belief 8 out of 10. So that's it. Local Injection Music Reviews. Subscribe, like, share. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week for another video. Listen to local music. Peace.